Yo, what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown, episode 454. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
What's up, people? How's it going?
Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Carlos Romero.
Yo, yo, yo.
Brett Murdoch.
What up, people?
And Brian Manjoma.
What a week. What a week.
Yo, a lot of shit happened this week. Like what? Crazy.
Yo, man, is all dropping.
Yeah. Yo, Carlos, man, let me see that Bebop Baru, man. I'm feeling a little ill right now, you know?
1 second.
Adam will join us a little later. He's finishing up his review of FIFA, FC now, as it's called, you know? And but yeah, big news happened this week. I got a review code for Spider-Man 2. That's the big news. You know,
you playing games from the future?
Yeah, so that's wrong one, Carlos. So that's why I was a little late tonight, and that's also why because you guys requested Richard Bailey Jr. be on tonight, but he is also playing a game. I didn't want to distract him, so no RBJ tonight. You know,
Yo, man, no RBJ.
Yeah, no RBJ tonight, man. But Brian is 100% right. This week was fucking crazy with gaming, man. And we're just
is it the good crazy, or is it like the stupid petty bad crazy that we hear of a lot these days?
No, a lot of this, it's a mix. Yeah, Carlos, you're right. It's a mix. It's a mix of shock. It's a mix of disappointment. It's a mix of here we go again. You know, it's a little bit of everything. You know,
Oh, it is.
yeah, you know who it is. It's a resignation god.
Man.
It's the acquisition god. Like we're still talking about this fucking story. Oh
It's
my
the
god!
layoff god.
It's the layoff god.
Not the acquisition, anything but that.
No, Brett, they keep pulling us back in, man.
The rules of acquisition are in full effect.
Yeah, it's the PS5 game coming to PC god.
Oh
my god!
That all sounds like petty bullshit to me. But
well, no, you'll be the judge of it.
Hold on to my pants.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get into it, man. Obviously, the big story of the week here, shock. And this happened on a Wednesday night, this fucking announcement, you know, like after work and everything. So it was like, whoa, he's caught everybody off guard, right? But it's something we've been asking for on Throwdown for this generation, the last 3 years. Mr. Jim Ryan, CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, is stepping down, people.
Hey.
He is gone.
So what's his reasoning?
So he basically says that for the past, like, whatever years, you know, since he's had the title, remember, he's a 63-year-old man, right? He's been traveling all around the world, and he says years of flying around, jet lag and fatigue and a grumpiness, as he said, is taking a toll on him, and he just wants to be home in England. He doesn't want to fuck around anymore. So after 30 years with PlayStation, he's gone. I know and we will get into some fun conspiracy theories, but I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes sense why you want to retire. You're old, you're traveling around the world, you fucking jet lagged. Manny, you and I both know about being jet lagged. Like, imagine doing that straight for 3 years and shit. You know?
I don't.
Yeah, oh, Brett, you honest, too, fucking Hawaii, you know, shit.
Good, I'm telling you, he's not a young man anymore. He can't lie like he used to.
To be honest, I don't even know how Kojima does that. He's old. What is he, like, maybe a few years younger than him?
That's
How is he doing all that flying around? It seems like every single day he's in some other country.
Yeah, maybe he's just good at sleeping on planes, but at the same time, it's like your body rhythm's all fucked up, you know, doing all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let me read you something. So he actually deemed him, you know, deemed it to come down from his tower to speak to the people, you know. Even I think Jim Ryan might be a little smart to not have a social media account. That's kind of smart of him. So he wrote, he wrote this himself on the PlayStation blog. As you will have seen today in the news, which was yesterday, I have announced my retirement after nearly 30 years at Sony Interactive Entertainment. I did not take this decision lightly, and I absolutely love SIE and our community. But of late, I've been finding it increasingly difficult to strike the right balance between having my home in the UK and my job in the United States. As mentioned in the press release, I will continue my role as president and CEO until March 2024, which would be the fiscal year. Effective April 1st, 2024, Hiroki Totoki will be appointed interim CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment while he continues his current role at Sony Group Corporation. But yeah, so there you go. He's retiring. Yeah.
Wasn't that interim guy also wasn't he the interim between Jim Ryan and Andrew House?
I believe so.
Yeah. So he seems to be,
he's the middleman.
He always seems to be the temp. He's also the guy who said that crazy shit about mobile games.
Uh-oh. What'd he say? If you remind us.
There was two couple things he said years ago. One of them is that, like, mobile games of the future, usual stuff like that. And nonsense. The other one was about service games.
What do you say about service games?
Yeah, essentially Sony needs more of them.
Well, we're getting them, aren't we?
Yeah, we got 10 of them apparently.
But yeah, again, the Jim Ryan era has been interesting because on the one hand, we've had many complaints about the way he runs things. That kind of warmness that we had in the last generation of PlayStation with executives gone. It's very cold and calculating. But at the same time, he's also brought the most success to PlayStation, like, in a long time. So it's an interesting balance,
Here's the thing, though. Like, he is the guy that is after all the momentum that was already earned from the later end of 3 and 4, and those were those guys. What did Jim do that is so successful?
Yeah, no, that's good, and that's something somebody brought up. It's like we'll probably see some of the fruits of what he's laid with the next guy. So the next guy.
I don't know.
It's these 10 service games. That's his fucking.
Yeah,
legacy.
I don't know, man. Like his legacy is kind of a bunch of garbage.
Yeah,
PlayStation. It's the PlayStation Portal. It's those 10 service games, and then also and then that silly comment of essentially trying to go back to what the guys previously were doing.
Mighty Nerd mentions Bungie.
Yeah, buying Bungie. Yeah.
That is just an answer to something else. I don't think the only things you could say that he did was like, he got Bungie, and then he got Blue Point.
He raised prices.
And he raised prices. He made a confusing, like, to this date, their PlayStation Plus tier system is utterly stupid and confusing. PlayStation Portal that doesn't run their apparently their streaming service. So, and not to mention their failed, overly expensive VR system that's out right now that nobody wants to fucking touch.
PSVR 2.
So what's his legacy?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Everything you said is 100% correct, right? But you know how the investors are going to see it. Like, our profits went up with this guy. He was good. That's all they're going to see.
Because he reigned through the pandemic and raised prices.
Yeah,
like how great! Like if you look at the numbers and just be like, and that makes me fair, though.
Everybody raised prices, though. Thank you, Bliss, for saying that. Anyway, Brett, go on.
Yeah.
Well, they were the
and the $70 and the $70 games. Yeah, we forgot about that one. They were the ones that Sony was the one that also.
That's definitely part of his legacy.
Oh yeah, that is. Yeah, but everybody followed suit eventually. Even Nintendo. Anyway, Brett, go on.
Oh yeah, everybody followed suit eventually, but like, who started it? And like, I'm not saying it in the sense of like they're the ones that are guilty of that. Although that's true. What I am saying is, when you have more market share and more customers than ever before due to a captive audience from the pandemic, and then you raise prices, and everybody's like, "My God, he made record profits happen. How did he do that? He's a fucking money wizard." No, he's not. He raised prices on things when he had a captive audience at their highest customer base. Like, it's not fucking magic. He just charged more when he had more customers. And honestly, nothing he did, in my opinion, actually brought those customers. Like, he rode the good graces of the previous guys and their game plans, and then rolled through the pandemic where nobody was allowed to leave their house. They may as well fucking play video games. And, oh, by the way, during that time, couldn't get enough of the new console out to justify games being developed exclusively for that. So, like, a lot of, like, he got lowballed the easiest chunk of video game management history, and we're gonna all fucking applaud him for making record profits. Like, I don't even think he should get credit for that shit. Honestly, he didn't do much. His legacy was sitting on the successes of previous people and then riding his golden parachute down, and a lot of lying in between, and kind of honestly
all the backpedaling when he with the PlayStation Store. Nobody wants to play old games. All that wonderful rhetoric that all got apparently reversed.
My favorite was Sony. At Sony, we believe in generations.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Literally, during the reveal of the PS5, that was reversed. And that was, okay, think about it like this, right? They made that statement during that summer, right? 2020, right? PlayStation gets, officially announced like close to the fall, right? And then they break their word literally at the launch. What was the first game that you saw announced when the PS5 was announced? What was the first game? The very first game. GTA 5, right? Last gen game, right? And then, and I made a Tony's take about this shit when I went the fuck off, right? They showed us Horizon Forbidden West, right? During the thing, right? The PS5 version looked fucking gorgeous. Then after the fact, they're like, oh, so those will come into PS4. I'm like, I thought you believed in generations, So then we had, I believe it was 2021, we had Returnal and Ratchet & Clank. Next gen exclusives, great, right? 2022, we didn't get shit unless it was, you want to count that fucking All-Stars game, And it's just now we're finally getting real current gen games, right? Granted, PlayStation had more exclusives than fucking Xbox, right? But like true PS5, again, I said this the entire time. I bought a PS5 on day one, and I was telling motherfuckers they didn't need the system. You didn't need it. Manny didn't have the fucking PS5 this entire time. He didn't miss out on nothing.
Didn't miss out on nothing, man. So, anything that I even wanted to play, they all were on PlayStation 4. Yeah. So if I somehow got the urge to play Horizon, hey, it's on there. I played Stray, it's on PlayStation 4. I mean, there's still a lot of things that are still sort of leftovers. Yeah. And, I'm not into Ratchet & Clank. I'm glad that it's using all the ray tracing, jigaboo in the background, but it wasn't really enough of a system seller for me to go out and buy one. So even now, I'm sort of like reluctant to even pick up a PlayStation 5. I got Spider-Man coming, but what else do I want to see?
Carlos, what's going on in the chat right now? Are people not liking what we're saying about Jim
Blitz
Ryan?
is doing his whataboutism with Phil Spencer. He's like, what about Phil?
No, we're not talking about those guys, man.
I'm like, Phil didn't retire today. He didn't retire this week. Who cares about Phil?
Yeah, we're not talking about Phil Spencer. We're not talking about Doug Bowser. We're not talking about Tim Cook. We're talking about motherfucking Jim Ryan here, man.
Phil went, did the rounds in Japan and told everybody that they're not fired yet.
Yeah,
he went to Tango GameWorks,
and but going back, I just want to jump because that was a very good point. Yes, Jim Ryan rode the coattails of the guys who really built up PlayStation during PlayStation 4 era. They had to remember those guys. They had to pretty much rebuild PlayStation after the mess that was the PS3. PS3 got its shit together, obviously, towards the latter half of its generation, right? But so those same guys continued that until the PS4 era, right? But then when the PS4 era ended, a lot of those guys kind of went their separate ways and stuff. And Jim Ryan was kind of writing that,
They're all gone. Like, literally, like, Geo, what's his face?
Sean Layden.
Yeah,
Jack Trenton,
Jack Trenton. Like, all those guys all left, like, around the same time, because I've almost, I don't want to be tinfoil hatting, but it seems like as soon as Jimbo jumped into office, all those guys decided, hey, we're out.
Yeah,
maybe they don't like that guy. Who knows?
I wanna
except for Shuhei, he'll be there till the end of time.
Yeah, I want to comment on something Kishak says. What's going on, brother? He says he basically doesn't understand why people want their CEOs to be likable. He's like, as long as they do their job, nobody should give a fuck about anything else.
Well, you know what? Number one, what if Walt Disney was a total asshole to everybody like on TV and everywhere? Part of your forward facing, what is it? Your forward facing of your company is the CEO or the people that they see involved with the thing. If you're able to, again, how did Xbox do it when they did their 360 era, right? Because they went to the people. They went and did the footwork. Yeah. How did PlayStation pull them out of that doldrum that was a fucking PlayStation 5, PlayStation 3 debacle, right? Because they they did what they could do. They went in there, we're like, all right, we're going to be about these, we're going to try to put out these things. We're trying to bolster our first party titles. We're trying to, get more. Well, remember, what was it, that thing that they created was like, remember the list or something like that, right? It was like,
he says it was fake kindness.
What was it? What would they call that thing? The list. I can't remember. It was like on Twitter or whatever. Like, PlayStation had that whole thing where you could literally sign up and ask them to put specific games on there. That's in fact how the Yakuza games started getting put out onto the later PlayStation consoles, because somebody said, "Hey, we want this."
Yeah.
So
the guys in the chat are saying that's all lip service.
Is it also so? In other words, so it's all the part of it. So in other words, doing the whole what was it, the PlayStation conventions, that was lip service, and so was all this other stuff. No, I mean, again, I think yes, there is definitely a corporate thing to a lot of this stuff, but I think you can do it, and even Brett has said this, you can do a lot by your own studio or your own company by being somewhat approachable, being the company of the people, right? Or at least perceived that way.
I'll tell you this.
How is that Sony got known for their first parties? Is because they pushed that stuff out there and they actually fulfilled them. So again, so you have people that are actually revolutionizing the industry, putting out games that are all the Uncharted is those guys' regime, Last of Us is those guys' regime. All those titles that you all love those sequels of, that all came from that. Most of that came from that era, with the exception of Ratchet and Clank. So, what did Jim do?
Yeah, but and I'll say this too, right? Think about it like this: Xbox, third place, right? What's one of the things that's helping them this entire time, right? They technically, if you look at the numbers and stuff compared to the other consoles, they're not doing that well. But what's one thing they have? They have a CEO people actually want to have a beer with. I know that may sound stupid, but it actually does help. I'm not saying it's the only thing you need, but that does help.
And that's what made, years ago when Microsoft didn't have Xbox didn't have a
when they had Don Matrick.
When they have Don Matrick, you had Major Nelson out there saying, "Hey, listen, I'm going to be at this bar. Hey, you guys want to come through?" Saying all this sort of stuff. So I definitely think that sort of stuff does help to breed a reputation. But if you're just a person that just you're just making excuses for the fact that you they don't need to be nice. So then it sounds like you're just shitting on the previous era. It sounds like you think that Jim Ryan was just the bee's knees and he all of a sudden did all this amazing stuff. What did he do? Right now, you're everybody's saying, pulling this Xbox bullshit. Oh, they got to have something. We're going to see what his stuff is in a few years. You sound exactly like those motherfuckers. The only difference now is that the company that you're making excuses for is still top dog, but that can easily fall to the wayside. Because of the decisions that your boy did, and when they actually come to fruition, you're gonna find out that all this stuff is a bunch of goddamn garbage. Yeah. Are you really interested in all of those 10? Are you really interested in those 10 service games? Legitimately.
Yeah, real quick, Manny. I want to say something else here. Kishak highlighted a message here. Also, the games as a service hate is stupid. Should Sony not develop multiplayer games and not rely on third party for the rest of the generation?
What? So they shouldn't rely on third party for the rest of the generation?
No, he's asking, shouldn't they? Yeah.
No, they shouldn't rely on purely on third party.
Also, hold on. Should they not make multiplayer? I don't know. Should the game should the company made famous for doing single player, deeply narrative experiences not focus on multiplayer? I don't know. That one may be up in the air a little bit, but
here's the thing: like, yes, okay, like obviously they do need the multiplayer games, but that is such a difficult space to exist in. Most people can't. Most of the general audience can't get past the idea that the multiplayer means battle royale, or what is Square Enix doing right now? They're making freaking Splatoon with suds. Because they can't even figure, because their eyes only go as far as the new things that are out there right now.
Kishak says, I am one of the few that demands first party multiplayer games.
No, I mean, to be honest,
from Sony?
Yeah, that's
what.
With their biggest, we always bring up the game Mag. Were you playing that game? Because that's like the penultimate of multiplayer type games. But nobody did play that, did they?
Brett, Kishak.
First person. What Sony multiplayer game are you playing right now?
Brett. Yeah. By the way, Brett, question for you, real quick. Kishak says, so Brett, Sony should just lie down and not even try.
No, obviously they obviously.
Manny, that's a question for Brett, Manny.
Okay, I'm Brett now.
Don't you put words in my damn mouth, all right? What I'm saying is Sony has been known for first party deep narrative single player games. That's what they have been made famous for. That is something that they cannot afford to just fucking stop doing. And judging by the fact they have 10 of these things on deck, I gotta believe that some resources were pulled from single player narrative games, or at least that's not their focus. Where, like, look, man, if you got famous making chocolate, by all means, make some fucking licorice. I don't give a shit. But don't dial back the chocolate making, all right? Like,
by the way, sorry, Brett, that's a presumption that they're going to stop making or cut back on first party narrative driven games. That's a presumption you're making.
That's a presumption because there's only so much budget to go around, man. Yeah. You can only cut the pie into so many pieces.
Oh no, listen. I understand where you're coming from. I'm just saying we had to throw that out there just so people don't think that's the case.
Excuse me. The one thing you can say about those 10 multiplayer titles is they probably cost about as much as
thank you, Manny. I was just about to say that. I'm pretty sure if you put this is my presumption now. If you put the budget of all those 10 games together, it probably wouldn't equal one big budget game from Sony. But
and most of those games that we've heard of are all from smaller developers that are new studios or Bungie who's does these games.
And even though they said 10, we may not get 10,
Yeah, so I mean, again, we'll see what it does, but to be honest, I don't think a lot of those games will hit.
I don't think it's going to factor. Yeah, by the way, real quick,
I think maybe some of them will do pretty well. I mean, I don't know. I don't to be honest, I think Marathon is probably going to run through some sort of weird growing pains because most people who like those Marathon games are disappointed that it's not a Marathon game. Now it's the multiplayer game, what is that?
Yeah, real quick.
They're also 50.
Yeah. Blitz says they have said the games as a service games will not impact their other shit. They increase the budget to cover them. So
yeah, I don't know. None of us know. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna skimp on Uncharted or on Last of Us single player to do it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But at the same time,
Spider-Man 2,
all we're hearing about anything new is we're just hearing about the newest things that they got in the pipeline is a bunch of derivative multiplayer games, and then mysterious games that Sony first party is doing. And
that's the issue. That's the issue.
How do we know that all that stuff isn't just going to be by the numbers stuff? Like, oh, hey, look, it's Death Stranding 2. Hey, it's Horizon Zero Dawn 3. Just a bunch of Last of Us 4. Or Last of Us 3 or whatever. It could just be the first parties could just be no-brainer moments where it's like, hey, look, it's a bunch of a bunch of transported IPs, like your boy Wolverine, and a bunch of sequels. Is that revolutionary? I don't know about that.
Well, no one's.
I don't. Where's your Shadow of the Colossuses? Where's your Eco games? I mean, those games didn't have a lot of huge budget, but they still were out there.
They may still come out with some of these games, but that's I think the conversation, at least it sounds like from the chat, is devolving a little bit because
they're all butthurt because we're talking about their boy. That's all they're.
That's fans of Jim Ryan.
Come on, man. That's like.
Nah, I think you're wrong with this, man. You should have checked the Discord. Everyone was celebrating when Jim Ryan retired.
Yeah. I think they just don't like some of the things we've said about Sony, not Jim Ryan.
Yeah, come on, man.
Look, all I'm saying is that everything that I dislike about how Sony has acted in the last, it's 2019, just so happens to coincide with a lot of the shit Jim Ryan did. I've never been a fan of how he is piloting this ship, right?
So,
you go ahead.
I was gonna say, so it's because of grumpy old Jimbo who wants to go home. That's why you don't like Sony. Or PlayStation.
I mean, I won't say that, but I will say that I haven't appreciated a lot of the things and a lot of the approaches that they've taken since he took the helm, and maybe things will turn around a little bit right now. And he could have headed a bunch of really cool initiatives and made a bunch of planted the seeds for a bunch of really cool games that are going to change the way we see gaming. Blah 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 blah. But the fact of the matter is, what we know that he has headlined, the fruits of his labor that we know of are the things that have happened and the things that are in the pipeline, neither of which is truly super impressive. So instead of just getting super defensive, why not look at it hey, this is a great opportunity for Sony to get somebody in the chair that can really kind of do some moving and shaking.
But they're not getting super defensive about Jim retiring.
No, they're getting super defensive about Sony not having. Okay, real talk. Y'all getting super defensive about Sony having kind of been shit company the last 5 years, and I'm giving you an out to lay it on this guy's feet because he's just a lying, talentless fucking asshole. And then we could all fucking sit around the bonfire and kumbaya, but y'all don't want to play nice. I like the things that Sony has done. I did not like the things that Sony has done since Jim Ryan has been in the chair, and he has almost, at least for me, ruined Sony as a fucking company. I do not like dealing with them any more than I have to. And this isn't the Brett that you've always seen. Some of those that have listened to the show, you'll recognize, I haven't always been this way, right? Circumstances drove me to this. And the circumstances that drove me to this all happened under the watch of, guess who? Jim Ryan. I don't want to be mad at Sony anymore. I want to come home.
Yeah. All right. Yo, by the way, this segment got more contentious than I expected. Shit.
You can't say anything that's the thing, you can't say anything bad about what Sony has done, even in a constructive light. And y'all have to realize that is shooting yourself in the foot, right?
Yeah, you can come totally just it's it seems like you're just making excuses for stuff where you oh hey, they're making money, oh hey, they're doing this. It's you can be critical of a company that you like,
Yeah, but I also agree with Tony when he mentioned, because he's the one that mentioned it about him providing for his what's it called, his investors, which is a positive for the the people who
that's objectively good for the company,
It is objectively good for the company, but I think that at the same time, it's the consumers that also are a part of this. We wouldn't be doing.
Oh, I agree, but think about it. The consumers have been buying up PlayStation shit like crazy this entire generation.
And I feel like a lot of people. I feel like we're the support for Sony is almost getting as delusional, or PlayStation is getting almost as delusional as the Nintendo people.
Yeah, and I gotta say, and I gotta throw this in there. Okay,
So they can do no wrong.
Let's play devil's advocate here. Like, look at all the PlayStations that have been selling during Jim Ryan's leadership. Like, all right, tell me 2 things that he has done to make those PlayStations fly off the shelf. Other than PlayStation 5 existing, being the next PlayStation, and being available, like, what under Jim Ryan's leadership moved those PlayStations?
Yeah, no,
how did he help get us here? Like, anybody in the chat, give me 2 things. Give me 2 things that he did.
I got one
to give us a success.
I got one. He made Mark Cerny the architect.
Well,
he allowed Mark Cerny to be the architect.
He was already the architect for the previous one.
Yeah,
he could have canned him.
Yeah. Well, that's
so. Yeah,
not
all it is just continue.
Let the same guy who's been doing his thing again, keep doing it. You know,
again, living off the coattails of what the previous guys were doing.
A Syrian Air Force. We're not talking about Phil Spencer right now. We're talking about Jim Ryan.
No, listen. Phil's got some stuff to answer for too. There's some stuff that's happening right now concerning our good buddies at Microsoft. So
Logic Win said, "Oh, this is a good one." And let's check the dates on this. Jim Ryan grabbed Insomniac, so that is something.
They grabbed Insomniac
during that time.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. They grabbed Insomniac after Spider-Man. When did
Spider-Man came out 2018?
Step down.
What happened?
Yeah, when did House step down?
Yeah, so let's check the dates on it real quick. I'm going to read what Blitz says here. Maybe some of these guys need to spend more time in the Discord and seeing many of us rip PlayStation plenty. Just because we don't 100% agree on here doesn't mean we're defensive or delusional. Yeah, I would like to kind of calm that language down a little bit. You know, it's like, let's chill out, guys. All right. So, yeah. So, again, people are, in the larger context, because you got to understand, most people who buy consoles and games and stuff, they don't look at this discourse. They don't care. They're just like, PlayStation. I'm going to buy a PlayStation.
It's got the it's got the things that I want. But I definitely think that having a good rapport with your consumers also does a lot to evangelize your own consoles. Yeah. And if you have a good rapport, like, hey, look, these guys seem to listen, even if it isn't a situation where it's more of a business situation, why they might be listening.
Yeah. I agree with you, but at the same time, even with crotchety Jim Ryan, it didn't hurt things either. It
didn't hurt things because I feel like they have become the zeitgeist, right? Remember what I said. Like when the console becomes the zeitgeist console, if you're not doing anything so stupidly horrible, you can pretty much get along. Like that's what happened with Xbox. If the TV bullshit didn't happen, they probably would have still been on the top over there.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. Most people when they like a brand, they stick with them. I'm one of those people, but at the same time, you have to do something really stupid for example, me to leave. That's why I stopped buying Gillette, for example. You got to do something really fucked up. But most people, if things go the way they've always expected, they're just going to keep riding that shit. I'm like, I'll still buy Nike. There's no other reason for me anything else.
The one thing I will say about Jim's regime is that he essentially stayed the course. He didn't do anything too crazy. He didn't do anything too nasty, and they still continue to make money. But again, we could see, but all of those things that are coming in the future could, even though they were things that Jim already signed into degree, those could be settled onto the next guy. So, hey, we got that PlayStation Portal coming out. Oh, it did utterly horrible. Oh, hey, that VSVR thing. Oh, yeah, that did utterly horrible. Get out of here.
Go ahead,
New CEO guy.
I feel like the worst aspect of Jim Ryan is it. Even if he's nasty or evil or whatever people want to personify him as, I feel like the worst aspect, he was out of touch. That's how.
I would.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Like as a consumer of a PlayStation / Sony product, I always felt like he didn't really think about what we appreciated about the brand.
It didn't seem like he cared about the legacy of PlayStation. And I think that was also one of the biggest faults of him, where it just seemed like he wanted to, like,
he didn't care about the legacy until it was convenient to care about it, because he did turn around and go, oh, we have these great games that are going to be available. Oh, because you have a service to sell us. That's why you're talking about these legacy games now, bruh.
Oh,
you know,
look, he followed the money, and that's, there's nothing wrong with that in the sense that, like, man, that's what a CEO is supposed to do. Technically, I would like to see, because it is possible to see, them actually want to do other things as well as make money. It's rare, but it's been proven. But like, he followed it from a very clinical, high-minded point of view of like, all right, I want to make more money. I want to be at point C. I'm at point A. How do I get from point A to point C as directly and reliably as possible? And that's what he did, man. And like, but it wasn't like, we've seen people like put the customers or the legacy or even, like the communication, like the back and forth high up in priority. That wasn't Jim Ryan's thing. Jim Ryan was about, I'm going to make as money as efficiently from this thing as possible, because that's my job. And I get it. That's fine. I just didn't like it. And, he wasn't trying to be customer facing, right? That was his choice. And that was a way to run a company, and it made money. I personally prefer when my executives are a little bit more customer facing, when they're a little bit more transparent, and when they're genuinely trying to engage with the people, right? Like Dan's soapbox, one of my favorite things in anything ever. I really think that is the best way to run a company. But there's no right way to run a company. There's no right way to be a CEO. And what he was doing was just one of the ways that you do it. It's just not the way that I particularly liked. But it was very efficient. It made money. And we're honestly, like Tony said, we're not really going to see the full repercussions for a while. And it could be just his entire legacy could be a big old nothing burger. And honestly, in terms of what he's supposed to do as an executive, that's fine. If his legacy was he didn't rock the boat and kept making money, then he did his job, right? But again, we can be talking from it. We're not talking about how competent he was as a CEO. I think we can all agree he made money. He did his job. I think at this point now we're just talking about the things that we appreciate or would like to see different as customers, right? So like, let's just clarify that, because I feel like that shit needs clarified. Like, he did fine. He did his job. He did good.
So now, out of like, obviously when these sorts of CEO things change around, I wonder what's going to happen to, like, people like Herman Holt, who we don't actually get to see talk a lot, these days.
Maybe he'll step up to the plate.
I mean, maybe he wants to jump in there. Who knows?
And that's the thing. Not only was Jim Ryan not client facing, there was no one else. Like, Phil was more client facing. I guess Bowser was more client facing than Jim was. But Jim wasn't out there. Herman was out there only for state of play sometimes.
Yeah, barely saw him.
I actually, Carlos, because I to think about this now. It's interesting with Bowser, right? I don't think he made that many public appearances, but when he did appear, he was affable.
Yeah.
So I don't think he was too forward facing. But when you saw him, it's like, yeah, that guy's cool.
Yeah, not nearly as much as, not in nearly in as much places as somebody like a Reggie.
Yeah, like like you heard more. Like Jim Ryan made way more statements. At least to me. Than Bowser did. Like every time Bowser made a statement, like, oh yeah, this guy's in charge. Like, you always forget it. This guy's around, but when he does show up, like, oh yeah, this guy's not bad.
Yeah.
There you go, Blitz. I'm giving Nintendo some props, motherfucker.
Yeah, you love it. Tony's about to look at his Switch and not shake his head.
Yeah. Doug Bowser, I have no problem with him. He's cool. Anyway, what were you going to say, Brett?
The trick is that the real secret to success that Sony used to do, they had a fake CEO.
Yeah. Yes. We need to bring him back.
They literally copied their fake CEO.
Yeah. Bring back Kevin Butler, man.
I do want to mention There's also, retirements, come pretty frequently for people in high executive positions. Sometimes they're truthful, sometimes some other things happen. So I'd be curious to see what Jimbo does in the future. Maybe because if he goes to another, a high executive,
go to
maybe
Zynga
he's gonna go to Zynga.
Didn't Andrew House also retire too?
I believe so. And correct me on that, guys, in the chat. Did he?
And I know one of the CEOs. He's at like Tencent or something crazy.
Yeah, Andrew House is cool.
I'd be curious if Jim within the next year or two gets another big time job, then I'm pretty sure this retirement was all bullshit, and maybe someone from
Carlos, I will say this though, because remember he said he didn't want to do any more trips. That's why he's retiring from Sony. He could theoretically just work from England somewhere.
I'm surprised.
Or just work in Europe. Like, I'll just go to Germany.
But retirement is pretty solidified as a term that you use. Now,
here's my question: is he retired? Period, or retired from Sony?
I think, to be honest, I think a lot of times it's just like they'll just say retiring. They'll disappear for a while, and then they'll come back somewhere else. That's what I think.
Yeah,
I think he's looking. I'm thinking he's.
Well, retirement is a pretty definitive term. Yeah. He didn't say he's resigning from the company or stepping down. He just they use the word retirement, which means you're done.
Yeah,
right. You're ready to collect your Social Security. He's going to sip some tea on the porch, shout at the clouds. He's good.
Be angry at the people. I'm surprised they didn't move the. Usually when they switch out. Oh, well, then again, the last guy was a British guy who was in charge of Sony. But I'm like, it's interesting that obviously, and things would probably be easier if he was in a place like Japan or if he was directly in the United States. But he has to spend time in multiple locations. That's and he probably couldn't do it from his own home. I mean, yeah, definitely could take its toll on you if you're having to fly all over the place.
Yeah, especially when you're old like that, So I get it. All right, anything else you guys want to say about Jim Ryan?
I wonder if he was he flying a commercial? Was he flying a private jet?
He was flying some fancy shit,
Yeah, and he's the CEO of the company. They're not going to put him on a fucking Delta.
Yeah, right. You go to economy class, man.
Put him on.
He can get on that private jet and play with his PlayStation Portal. Like, what is there to complain about?
He's like,
well, we both know he don't play games.
He doesn't play no game.
Yeah.
One thing I'd have to do some research. I'd like to see, because obviously he had been with the company for 30 years.
30 years, yeah.
My guess is it's interesting whenever you look at a lot of those executives, trip through the company and seeing where they sort of started. So it'd be interesting. I'm sure he was at Sony UK or something like that.
Yeah. For some reason, in my mind, like if you look at a picture of him 30 years ago, for some reason he'll still look the same. I don't know why. We'll see.
He might look totally different.
Imagine that, like that's Jim Ryan. Excuse me.
That's Jim Ryan.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be hilarious? Like, this motherfucker's always been. Yeah.
We still got a few more months of Jim Ryan. Maybe he's gonna be laying low. I mean, we did see a new lady just show up on on the PlayStation. What do they call those?
With the state of play.
The state of play. The new lady. I don't know what her name is, but she showed up. She just randomly showed up as the host of it. So I don't know. Maybe she's the new face there.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. All right. Anything else?
We shall see.
Yeah. Anything else on Jim Ryan?
See you later.
But did he mention would he be even retiring if Activision wasn't being acquired right now?
Well, again, he claims it's because he's tired, but you're right. And because there's been some interesting theories going around. That is one of them. And this is what Adam believes too, that he retired because he failed to stop the merger or the buyout.
I mean, he pushed really hard for that. I mean, the reason he's tired is because he was flying all over the place, petitioning the CMA, petitioning the FTC. He was gathering lawyers. He was doing discovery. He was doing all this shit to try to stop that deal. Didn't work out, right? So, I mean, you could go into the Marvel multiverse, and we could be sitting here talking about how Phil Spencer is all of a sudden stepping down. That deal didn't go through.
Well, you never know. Maybe the board was telling Jim's like, "Yo, Jim, you gotta kill this deal, man. You gotta do whatever you can to kill this deal." And maybe they put him through hell to try to do it. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm done with this."
What's it? Ken Kutaragi just showed up out of nowhere, like, "What are you doing, Jim? What did I say? Do not let them get a hold of the industry." Ridge Racer.
Ridge Racer.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on here. We gotta talk about this bullshit. It hasn't ended.
No.
Why?
Can we just talk about something happy like Spider-Man? Or
I would have Jim Ryan leaving. That's more happy than this shit.
Okay. So what is it now? What did they do, Ray?
I'll read the headline. I'm reading all this from IGN here. The FTC revives challenge against Microsoft's $69 billion Activision Blizzard buyout. So they're not done yet. They're not done yet. Anyway, let me read this. It's just 3 paragraphs. The Federal Trade Commission, FTC, plans to move forward with its administrative case against Microsoft's buyout of Call of Duty maker Activision Blizzard. The FTC announced its plans to move forward with its in-house trial after a pause in place during the summer. However, without a preliminary injunction, the FTC cannot prevent Microsoft from closing the deal before October 18th deadline. Fingers crossed. In the last paragraph here, in July, FTC boss Lena Khan, Manny, your favorite FTC boss Lena Khan was accused of wasting taxpayer money. I agree with that. With an appeal of the Xbox trial verdict, and Khan is facing similar criticism now following the revival of its administrative case. Activision Blizzard. Let me finish. Activision Blizzard executive Lula Chen Maris, I can't pronounce her fucking last name, tweeted that the company is focused on working with Microsoft toward closing, before adding how the FTC uses limited taxpayer resources and is its decision. Yeah, man, wasting our fucking money with this shit.
There's so many things that the FTC could be going after. But
they're also going after Amazon now. Apparently,
there's so many other things that they could be going after. Like they could have literally, like with that whole stupid with the Disney 20th Century Fox thing, they just let that shit roll. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know what they have. What they have with the.
Well, this is like almost personal now, right?
Yeah, like
that's what it seems like. What is their? Take the fucking
deal? What is their deal with Microsoft? Like they really seem to be like, oh my god, these guys are gonna take over everything. It's like, nah.
And didn't she get shamed after this trial? After it got thrown out, like like some congressman told you're wasting money.
Yeah,
you're wasting money. You're taking else, and this is not the only case she's lost. Where it's like, hey, listen, you took on this case; it had no merit. You lost another one. And now she's like, oh, well, fuck them. I'm going to do it again.
Why, like the Federal Trade Commission should be literally going into all those Chinese companies that are literally, undermining the game industry. Now, that to me, that's a dangerous thing right there.
Yeah, but no, going after. Yeah, it just seems like, Chris, I agree with you. It just seems very vindictive of her.
I don't know,
like
man.
She has something out for Microsoft, and apparently she's an idol. You know how those fucking people are. They can't let nothing go.
Maybe Jim Ryan offered her some pretty good money. Maybe he gave her. He promised Minicon, her son or daughter, that the Call of Duty will definitely be on the PlayStation. If hell or high water. I don't know.
Yeah, so this is some bullshit.
maybe her kids are like, I heard this. Hey, Mom, I heard this. That Microsoft's buying. That means they're not going to be on the PlayStation no more. You got to do something about it. And she's like, oh fuck, man, I don't need these kids bugging me about this shit anymore. All right.
I don't actually have to be a parent.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like again. You can go into Tencent. You can go into all those Chinese companies that are literally well, essentially, like owning portions of companies, because as we all know, all China, like in order to sell anything in China, they need to own a percentage of your company. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But the FGC didn't even touch it. FTC, yeah, they didn't even touch that stuff because they don't know what's going on. That's why they're utterly out of touch, and they because of Microsoft stuff. Well, previously I think, weren't they accused years ago of being a monopoly of some sort, right?
Oh, Microsoft. Yeah, I mean, the FTC has gone after them before.
Yeah, they've gone after them before. So there is some sort of history between there, and I think that's what it sort of is. They hear Microsoft is involved, and they're like, "Oh, we gotta stop this."
Yeah. So hopefully this will all be over by October 18th, because this is stupid. Like, let it go already. Let the shit go. We're fucking done with this bullshit.
I'm okay, man. We're gonna. For those of you who love your Call of Duties, it's gonna
it's staying on PlayStation.
It's staying on PlayStation. And there's a bunch of other things that are going to continue to be there. So I mean, even when what was it, when PlayStation bought Bungie, they still made that deal saying, hey, listen, Bungie games will be on everything. So
yeah, all right. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Let's move on here. Now, this is, I don't know how to say this without sounding like cruel.
Okay.
But I don't know how to any other way to say it. So I'm just gonna say it. Shit like this, which we've seen all year, is kind of one of the reasons I'm glad I'm not really in the gaming industry anymore. It is so fucking volatile, man.
It's funny. It's weird how the minute that you pretty much, your career evolved away from the game industry, everything sort of got like, I don't know.
I mean, it's been wobbly. Yeah, but you guys already know what we're talking about. Epic Games will lay off 16% of its workforce, close to 900 people, and people I know, friends of mine that work in the industry, they're out of a job. And again, I've seen this too many fucking times, especially this generation, for obvious reasons, the corona and all that. But at the same time, though, right? During the Rona, these motherfuckers were posting record profits. Remember that shit, right? Record profits. So I'm like, you have record profits, and you also have record layoffs. How does that work? And it's insane because I was talking to one of my boys about this, right? You don't really hear about this stuff when it comes to other industries, not to this volume, right? Like, you heard about Disney layoffs and shit, but when have you heard like a movie comes out, oh, this studio's getting closed down now, shit like that. It's so crazy. And apparently with this thing, this has been debunked, but one of the kind of headlines was that the team that made Fallout guys, or whatever the fuck the game was called, like that they were all like, the studio got shuttered. That didn't happen, but they were affected too, It's 830 employees from Epic Games, man.
I mean, here's the thing: like maybe their cash cow Fortnite is not doing the stuff that they want. Maybe that's a good point. Maybe the licensing of Unreal is not also working out for them. There's quite a bit of other things that could have factor into all of this.
Okay, I got to read this shit. This is from Tim Sweeney. He said that Epic was spending way more money than we earn investing in the next evolution of Epic. That's not good. I had long been optimistic that we could power through this transition without layoffs, but in retrospect, I see that this was unrealistic. Yeah, that's kind of like fucked up to say after the fact. We tried, we fucked up. Now 900 people out of a job.
It's unrealistic.
It's unrealistic, man. So yeah. It's sad, man. We've seen this so often now. It's like every other week, basically. Another studio's laying off. Microsoft was laying off, but Xbox, we heard about that news and shit. It's like
Blizzard right now.
Blizzard, yeah. And again, to me, I'm not a business guy. I'm too stupid to understand that shit. But I'm like, you guys made record profits. You're laying off a shitload of people. Something doesn't compute here.
Was it? I mean, what didn't Chris also talk about, like, in general about companies, is that operation costs is a really key factor into a lot of this?
Yeah,
right?
Chris, give some insight into
maybe
stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know Epic's exact financials, right? I'd have to look into it. But here's the thing: they had massive investment from Tencent, right? Tencent bought into the company. Epic made some weird moves. Like, I don't know why they bought Bandcamp. I don't know why they had a giant marketing arm that they did, and they're going to spin it off now. There was something else they bought that I didn't understand, but these things they kind of seem like while they were rolling, they were making like weird decisions, probably ill-advised, and now things have slowed down so much that they're like can't put the brakes. That they're bleeding, right? So they're like, all right, now we got to start laying off people. That's the first thing companies do. Like, what he should try to do is roll back some of the overhead. Like, yeah, sell Bandcamp, sell cut your marketing, cut all this stuff, and then try to figure out other licensing things you could do. But the go-to thing most companies is like, all right, we'll just cut back the workforce because we're spending too much money, and unfortunately that cost is people, right? It's not just numbers on a page. It's not just 16% or 830. Those are people. So they seem to have made some foolish decisions that they're now paying for now. But like you said, they were making record profits. I don't know what their output was. His statement was that they were spending more than they were getting in, which is like, well, what were you spending that on?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I could look into it because I'd be curious. Absolutely, what the hell they've been doing the last 2 years, especially during COVID. Like, they have. I mean, Unreal is in demand, right? It's licensed heavily. Fortnite was doing very well for many years, and it's like, I don't know if that's the case now. I don't know how Fortnite is doing, but they still put out content for it. They still support it. It still seems to have a huge player base. I mean, maybe Brian could see on Steam numbers or something. I don't know what it's doing, but this it's a little odd. And that's not a small number either. Like, you're getting 16%. Once you get up to like close to 20% of your workforce, that means you had a major problem. There was some kind of major accounting problem.
Yeah, but I'm curious to see what the hell they were spending all their money on, But apparently, it didn't work out. Some fucked up shit, man.
And who knows?
So yeah, we'll see.
It seems like it doesn't take much to send the company into a firing phase. This is the second company we're hearing about this year.
That's a good point. It's like how close to the precipice are some of these companies? The
thing is that maybe the thing is that their projections were also false of when they did that stuff during the pandemic. I think a lot of people are feeling a lot of companies seem to be feeling the growing pains of during the pandemic where literally they had a captive audience, and instead of re-projecting, lower, for their things, they maybe just went higher. It's like, all right, we can only go higher than this.
Idiots.
I mean, like you see the movie industry right now. They're like essentially because they were so quick to go into all that streaming stuff. Now every single one of them are all bleeding, because they spent all this money trying to make these shows to try to fill in the space. But now you find like a bunch of the shows that they're only getting 1 or 2 seasons because they're just either too expensive or nobody wants to watch them, or they're like nobody wants to go to the movies to see these movies anymore. The world has changed.
Yeah, so there you go. And this won't be the last time we hear about these stories. So,
yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it really is. All right, moving on here. Speaking about moving on, this one was a shocker too. Obviously not on the level of Jim Ryan, but like for like hardcore gamers and shit, it was. Hideki Kamiya has left Platinum Games, the company he founded.
Yeah. company he founded. By the way, let me remind you, two people who made
Shinji Mikami left.
Shinji Mikami also left his company Tango Games Works when they were at a kind of a bit of a high from Hi-Fi Rush, a game that they just recently produced.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting seeing these guys sort of leaving their studios because they were. What was Platinum Games? Platinum Games was like, okay, we can't do what we used to do at Capcom anymore. Let's go and do our company. I think Shinji Mikami was at Platinum, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was one of the founders too. Yeah,
the founders over there. So yeah, and it's crazy to see that happen. But who knows what was going on behind the scenes?
Yeah, they didn't specify what happened.
They never say what he was happening. One thing I did sort of find very nice about him, because he's usually known for being sort of a volatile sort of creator. He was like, he wrote like, when I made my announcement, I half expected a bunch of people to be like, good riddance, throw a lot of hate my way. But he's like, it's actually been really nice. I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, people like your games.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing about this dude is like, yeah, he is crazy, but he makes good games, and that's what people care about.
I think I can understand why the internet can drive you a little bit nutty, where he doesn't want to answer the same old stupid questions. But I feel like once it became a meme with him, people started to poke the bear. But I think in general, I think people genuinely like his games. They're cool, and it's interesting to see that him leaving the company that he had founded for just that reason, to essentially make those types of games.
Yeah, because obviously he came from Capcom and he was
Clover
Studios.
Literally reinvented modern gaming. Him and Shinji Mikami.
Yeah, Resident Evil 4.
Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil.
Yeah,
those guys.
Yeah, and when Platinum first came out, they were like the dream team. They were like just banging out like awesome games in the first couple of years.
Games, yeah.
So, and they still make some good games too.
I haven't heard anything from them in a while. I mean, that last Bayonetta game sort of crashed and burned. But I think the scope. It didn't do so well.
Yeah, I know there was controversy with it with the voice actors.
Well, yeah, there's a controversy with the voice actors, but like the scope of the game ended up being a lot more like they wanted it to be open world, and they couldn't do it on the Switch.
Do it on a Switch. I think
there was a lot of different things that they couldn't get to work out on there. Oh, and the other game that they were working on that got moved over, which they were doing a Grand Blue Fantasy type of action RPG, but that didn't work out either. So then they had obviously they had the big cancellation of their game. Dragon.
Scalebound.
Scalebound. Yeah, that was the big.
That got revived this week. Oh, are we gonna get Scalebound now? Like, wait, what does that have to do with it? What?
I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to. Invoke any of that. Who knows?
Maybe that's why Jim was Phil was in Japan more recently.
Well, no, he obviously Phil was in town for Tokyo Game Show, so it looked like he was just making the rounds at all the Japanese studios. I saw he was at Kojima Productions and he was at Tango Gameworks. So, and whatever other companies he was over there for.
I'm looking at the games they've released in the last couple of years. Not a lot, actually.
No, it's been a bit light. Maybe that's because he was one of the main guys at the studio. He was nixing a bunch of stuff that he didn't have any interest in.
Yeah, let's just start. I'm just going to read the games that came out in the 2020s. Wonderful 101. World of Demons. Soul. It's an iOS game. No wonder. Soul Cresta, which is a Switch and PlayStation 4 game. Babylon's Fall. Oh, damn. I forgot about that fucking game. That bombed,
The Babylon.
Yeah, Babylon, one of our writers, Marshall, he reviewed that on Tom's Guide, and I think the headline was literally the worst game I've ever played. It's like
I noticed that sometimes Babylon's Fall obviously is a new IP, right?
Yeah, that's a new IP. Was the last IP. You know,
I feel like a lot of times when it comes to Platinum games, sometimes they do a half-ass job when it comes to certain like stuff that's not in their wheelhouse. Like, you know, remember they did that Legend of Korra thing?
Yeah, I remember that.
That game kind of bombed, and the what was the other one? It was the Ninja Turtles game that was pretty lousy that they made.
Yeah, they did Astral Chain. People like that. That was on Switch.
Oh, they did Astral Chain, and then they did what was it? The Transformers Devastation one, which wasn't bad.
Yeah, and the last game they came out with was a Bayonetta Origins. Wasn't that the 2D game?
Yeah, that was the 2D game.
Yeah.
for Switch.
But yeah, I'm looking at all these games they've released, and the only really big one, like notable, I should say, is fucking Nier Automata. You know?
Yeah, that's the legitimate hit.
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah, legitimate hit. Exactly. Wild, man.
I don't know. Maybe they're having, you know, maybe that was the thing. Maybe he could have been maybe mixing things that were essentially the things that might help the studio, or well, who knows?
Should have kept Scalebound.
Maybe he was too expensive to keep around, and I don't know. But
yeah. So anyway,
I wish he said he's not going to stop. He said he's not going to stop making games. So, you know, I mean, he says that making games the Kamiya way. So
yeah, he said he left over his beliefs, whatever that means.
I think, to be honest, I think that the studio was going in a direction that he didn't want, that he didn't feel that he liked. Maybe Platinum maybe Platinum might be doubling down on more of the mobile stuff, and that's not his realm, right?
Yeah, it's interesting.
But you know,
all right.
Hopefully some news comes out of all of this, so he ends up doing maybe he'll make another studio. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe him and Shinji Mikami won't make one last game and then will disappear.
Yeah. All right. And the last story I want to talk about, not really for the announcement itself, just the fallout. Horizon Forbidden West is coming to PC. No surprise there. But it's coming. Okay,
what's the?
It's coming out early 2024, along with the collector's edition of the game. You know. So which is pretty cool. It's a bunch of shit you get here. But the reason I want to talk about it is, I tweeted about it obviously, and I saw a lot of PlayStation guys, not a lot, but a good amount of PlayStation guys saying, "What the fuck do I need a PlayStation for?" They are still, not all PlayStation fans, but some are still very upset that PlayStation is bringing its games to PC. But I'm like, okay, this game dropped in 2022. Coming out 2024, the game's already run its course. Why do you care?
Yeah, I feel like it's an interesting thing, because it's like, it's years later. Are you guys still buying?
You want to wait that long? Because people are like, oh, I'm just going to buy a PC instead.
Yeah,
now,
like
you know.
Yeah, like are you to be honest, like we've said this before, what is the PC release for Sony? It's an extra shot in the arm for an IP that's already run its course. That's
for a game,
any one of those games has been that way.
Yeah.
Some faster than others.
Yeah,
you know, like Ratchet and Clank only just recently got put on there, right?
Yeah, and that was 3 years after the fact. Yeah,
that's 3 years after the fact. So they're waiting a decent amount of time for these things to happen. I mean, to be honest, like, you know, as far as, preservation wise, one thing that doing those sorts of things guarantees is that those games will be playable in the future, because with the way Sony handles their legacy,
Yeah, no, you're right. I want to read this real quick for Blitz. He goes, LOL, these people seem to assume everyone can or wants to build a PC that can run it. Yeah, exactly. Like, I'll just get a PC instead. Really?
Yeah.
Really? Really?
It's like, there's no telling that your PC will be able to run it in the like most people's PCs probably can't even run it in like the lower end ray tracing mode, right?
Yeah. Not really.
Not really. So, like, well,
then again, Horizon Forbidden West didn't have ray tracing, as far as I know.
I think it had a little bit of.
No, I think it just had fidelity and performance modes.
Okay, so maybe they'll throw a ray tracing card in there. I don't think they will. Yeah. I think it'll just be whatever it is.
But yeah, I just very interested by that sentiment because every time a PlayStation game gets ported to PC, you hear these guys. You know?
Yeah, it's a weird one because I guess obviously yes, exclusivity is a very important thing. Having those cornerstones to get people in the door, but at the same time, what happens when everything's run its course? All that stuff is just going to sit on the PlayStation Store.
Yeah, it's like if you love Sony that much, don't you want them to make more money? It doesn't make any sense to me. But again, it's one of those things like mine. No one can have it but me. My precious.
I mean, to be honest, it's like I see
fucking children, man.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with any of that sort of stuff.
Bring them day one. See,
I would say I would say
I'll
day
go that
one
far too.
I would not say day one because I would say that will legitimately undermine their
for some guys. I don't because again, remember PCs cost a lot. I don't think people are going to. I'm just going to get the PC version instead.
PCs definitely cost a lot, but when you go out there and you're offering a product that's lower priced than the original.
Well, we don't know that because there's going to be parity with the cost. I don't
know. I mean, what are those games usually cost? Are they costing $70 now? When they re-release on the
although on PC they lower that price real quick.
No, yeah. To be honest, I don't I think that might undermine something, and I think that's the reasoning why we see it 3 or 4 years later.
Yeah, that's my opinion, but I'm like, it doesn't matter, guys. You're still good. They're not taking it from your PlayStation. You'll still get to play the game on PlayStation. You're good.
Yeah, I think the thing about it is that again they want to continue to keep that idea that it's best on PlayStation or whatever that rhetoric is, and I feel like that undermines their messaging
until the PC version comes out. Like this is the definitive version. They have said that.
I mean, 3 years later, 3 or 4 years later, yeah, especially on a fancy new computer.
And that's my thing too. It's like if you're a hardcore PlayStation guy, you're really gonna wait 3 years to play an exclusive. Really?
No,
come on.
Probably
now.
Not.
Again, all this stems from is just mine. They just don't want others to have their thing. That's what it really comes down to.
I mean, here's the thing.
I should be a professional fanboy psychologist, man, because I know exactly how these motherfuckers think. Anyway, go on.
I mean, the thing about it is the idea of exclusivity is also part of part of the narrative, right? We've said it multiple times, even with Xbox. What do they have that that is going to be the attracting factor? If they just have a bunch of games that are already on the market, that's not a reason to invest. It's to have those big cornerstone things, and then have have those things that everybody else wants. And I feel like that's the same sort of despite obviously it's a little bit more open in the Microsoft ecosystem. I still think there are still offering some sort of exclusivity, and obviously they see their whole thing as one ecosystem, as opposed to Sony, which they see their consoles and then they see their PC business as separate parts.
Yeah. Blitz says, I think the biggest issue is these ponies ragged on Xbox games on PC, so now they can't have PlayStation do the same. That is a factor too, And I also saw, this usual reaction from Xbox guys. Your games are coming to PC too.
Yeah, I don't. No reason to get all pissy all over that sort of stuff. At least you're
a lot of highbrow, discussions in the gaming community, right?
Yeah,
fucking insane, man. But it's going to keep happening, guys. It's going to keep happening. I will say this though, a very interesting omission so far. We've gotten a lot of big games coming out on PC, right? Where is Ghost of Tsushima? That's an interesting one. That's 3 years already. It's going to be 4, No, it'll be 3. It'll be 3.
No, isn't it 2020 game?
Yeah, 2020. So it'll be 3 years.
Oh, no, wait.
It'll be 4 after.
Is it 4
years? It'll be 4 after at the beginning of next year. Wasn't it a March game?
No, I believe it was during the summer.
No, it was during the summer.
Yeah, it was during the summer.
So it'll be 4 years in the summer of next year.
I believe it was August, because I remember. Yeah, I think it was August. We were like, oh shit, an August game,
But here's the thing. how is it that Ratchet came out before Ghost of Tsushima?
That's what I'm saying. That's why it's interesting. You know, I'm like, oh, it's an older game, it's a PS4 game. You know,
Ratchet was one of the longer ones, and when Spider-Man Miles Morales, that came out pretty damn quick. That one,
yeah, relatively quick, yeah, because that was when did Miles Morales come out on PC? Because it came out on yeah. Let me see. Let me look that up.
Was that a 22 game?
Yeah, if it was a 22 game, then 2 years.
Yeah.
So that's still the one that came out fast was Death Stranding. That came to PC
Oh yeah.
fast.
Well, to be honest, I think that's because Sony. I think that's because it wasn't Sony doing it.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
Kojima. I think he signed some sort of funky deal where he essentially has control over this PC builds of those Death Stranding games.
Yeah, man, he has a director's cut.
Excuse me?
He has got a director's cut.
Kishak, this is a fun question. He goes, how much of a reaction would the Nintendo guys have if their games came to PC?
Oh my God!
Yeah. What do you think?
You'd see a lot of places on fire at that point.
Oh man!
And there's no question. Every single other console, even the PlayStation 4, runs better than that.
That would be embarrassing. Ooh, that's a good point. Like if those games were to come out on PC and they just look fucking 50 leagues better than they do on the shitty Switch. Like, but at the same time, Nintendo fans don't care about that. You know?
Well, yeah. Well, the thing about it is like especially a lot of some of the performance issues on some of those games.
Yeah, they don't care about that. They're
hitting the wall.
Yeah. But I could get it anywhere I want.
Speaking of questions, I got a question.
Excuse me?
I was thinking about this when I was playing a certain game. I've been playing Phantom Liberty the last couple of days. You know that CD Projekt Red.
Yeah.
The graphics, CD Projekt Red is moving from the Red Engine to Unreal. Yeah,
5.
And then I've been playing Phantom Liberty, and I'm like, this shit looks fucking incredible.
Yeah,
it's like, is it a good idea that they're moving away from this?
They're probably just to make things easier for them, And Unreal 5 looks fucking nice though. So
I will say this.
Remember that Matrix demo? Excuse me.
I will say this. There are more people that are familiar with the with Unreal than I would say for something like their engine, unless they designed their engine fairly similar to what obviously what's on the market currently. Like Red Engine. What they designed their engine to work very similar to things that are on the in the market currently that people have experience with. But no, I definitely think because of the high skill factor of their engine, it is the best for them to move to a widely openly used engine like that, because you could easily pull in people.
Yeah, but Carlos, I fully understand your sentiment, because that engine, man, especially when you got a beast ass PC, fucking nuts,
when it works.
Yeah,
when it works. It's the best looking game I've ever played. Literally.
Are you playing it with that crazy new DLSS thing that they got going on with it? DLSS 3 or something?
Yes. Like well, 3 because two.
You don't have a 40 series.
Yeah, 2.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't have a 40 series card, so yeah. So and screw you, CD Projekt Red, for making me want to upgrade. But yeah, man, I'm blown fucking. And Tony, I texted Tony. I'm like, yo, is there something different about this game? Because they added, it feels more alive.
It does.
This shit is crazy.
Yeah, because one thing I like to do in Cyberpunk is just walk around and shit. Because like just taking everything in. I'm like, yo, there's a lot of fucking people now. Like a lot. Am I in middle Times Square right now? Fuck's going on here? But it's nice, man. Yeah, that engine, man. And Carlos, I have played that game on a fucking rig with 4090. It's like, god damn,
damn,
it is crazy.
I think they definitely, again, like the definitely having the 3 extra years to sort of really polish it and get all their LOD systems in order.
To be fair, though, even when the game came out, that shit looked really fucking good. Even back then,
it looked really
it ran
good.
Like shit, but it looked really good.
Yeah, but again, like it definitely you have that, like you have that additional time to sort of clean up all the stuff that it was. In fact, I think Digital Foundry did a thing on it, and they said they've actually switched around a lot of different things, like as far as the distant LOD systems and textures and all kinds of other quality of life improvements beyond just the menus and the additional AI for the cops and all that stuff. So
yeah, a lot of that did change. Like Tony said, it feels different just going through the city. Like sometimes people hit you now. It's like, yo, if you don't pay attention, people crash into you. And by the way, so I've been playing Phantom Liberty. Obviously, the first thing you have to do is go to Dogtown, which is the new location of the DLC. Mm-hmm. I went into Dogtown and my PC was like, that shit. Yo, you could tell like they upped the specs for this DLC, and you're like, yep, makes sense because this shit, my PC is fucking struggling.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I got my PC built by NZXT, right? And it comes with this program where you could change the performance settings and shit. I know you could do that in Windows too, but this one has a specific one. So there was one time where I just left it on default, where and default is just the fans are silent. Yo, Carlos, within half an hour, shit just froze, man. It's like, yo, too hot.
It's too naked.
So when I put in performance mode, that makes all the fans go crazy, and then it plays well, but man, like it's funny you bring something. I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like I know, like I've gotten some shit about this in the past, but I'm like, I don't know why I should apologize for liking nice graphics, man. That enhances the gaming experience for me. When you get a really good looking fucking game, man, like it just hits different, But I get motherfuckers all the time. It's about the gameplay. Yes, gameplay is fucking important because if gameplay is like shit, then I don't care how nice it looks. But those graphics help, man. They really do. It's like back in the day and shit when you be watching Batman the Animated Series, those episodes that looked really fucking nice compared to the shitty ones. Even if the shitty ones had really good stories, you remember the nice looking ones,
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, you remember the Robin 2-parter and shit? That first part of it looks so fucking good, But so yeah, when you get a game
or the second Two-Face episode,
yeah, exactly. Like, fuck,
yeah.
So when you get graphics like that, man, it's like so good, and it enhances everything,
It does, because the thing that CD Projekt Red does with this game, it feels like the graphics enhance the storytelling as well. When you traverse through the areas, it feels like, yo man, Tony, this. When you're talking to that one dude, remember that there's a quest where you have to do in a certain parade where you have to get to a certain person.
Yes.
And you traverse through the upper scaffolding ports, and you're like, yo, this feels like a world that's fucking alive. It just enhances everything. You're just walking. You're walking, and the dude's talking to you, and you feel like you're like, oh shit, I'm looking around, like looking at everything. You got these Japanese symbols everywhere. It's like, this shit looks crazy.
And the holographic, and we could talk about it. The game's fucking old already. Like, this isn't Phantom Liberty. This is the main game. You see these holographic dragons and shit. You see like food stands, the steam rising, people walking around and shit. The fucking lights. Oh my, it's so good. That part has stuck with me, man. Like when I replayed the game again, I was like, oh, I can't wait to play this shit. And then I really took my time. Oh, it's so good. Like not only is the mission dope, the actual mission, the shit you got to do with it, but those graphics, man, and there's this one part where you get to like a control room and you see the light just coming in through the windows and just bathing.
That scene, so we have to make a decision.
Like that is some real shit, man. To me, that's fucking gaming right there, man. Give me some pretty shit. And this is why this is why I come down so hard on shit like the Switch and the Xbox Series S. We shouldn't be having nonsense like that, man. Oh, I could go on about graphics all day, man. But Cyberpunk, excuse me,
on my PC?
Fucking nuts, man. Fucking nuts. All right. that is it for the show. Do we have anything we want to say before we wrap up here? Besides plugs, anything you just kind of want to randomly throw out there?
No, I mean, good stuff, man. You know,
gaming is here, people. Gaming is here. We're playing some games, baby.
We could actually use the term Gamageddon this year.
We kind of can. We kind of can.
There's a lot of the really cool things coming out. You know, beyond just Spider-Man and all that sort of stuff. So, as Brett says, he's eating good. So.
Yeah, he's eating good. I'm finally eating good, and I obviously I can't give you my opinions on these games, but I am playing Spider-Man 2 and Assassin's Creed Mirage. Right, Assassin's Creed Mirage. The review for that will be next week. When the game drops. So stay tuned for that. And I'm also playing Spider-Man. I'm eating right now. And then after I get those games done, then I'm gonna visit. Here's Brett. See, I'm in the same predicament as you now, right? After those games, I'm like, should I play Baldur's Gate or Starfield first?
Or Alan Wake.
Well, I'll get to that when I get to that. So, Brett, I'm in the same predicament as you, or I will be, I should say, because
play Starfield first.
Okay, so because you know which one I really want to play more though. I want to play Baldur's Gate. I know. Here's the thing. How should I say this? I already know I'm going to like Starfield because but despite what I say, I do like Bethesda games, right? But going back to graphics, man, Baldur's Gate looks so fucking good,
It does.
That is a nice look at, I'm going to be playing that on my PC.
On my PC?
Yeah.
Yo, Brett, so I'm curious, why would you recommend to Tony in particular Starfield first?
Oh, we had this
because I feel like Baldur's Gate is deeper. Like it lets you dig down more into it. Whereas kind of Starfield is kind of your typical Bethesda theme park. So like if you're going from Baldur's Gate to literally any other game is going to make that other game feel restrictive.
And also, Brett, throwing this in here too, I'm pretty sure the narrative and the characters will be a lot more engaging in Baldur's Gate,
Yeah. Well, it's a whole different thing, and I think at least. So how do I put it? Starfield feels very large, and it is very large. But Baldur's Gate doesn't feel very big, but it is very big, and like in the sense of like it's not huge, but it's so super dense.
I'm going to say this, right? Brett, correct me if I'm wrong here. Just from my observation, it seems like Starfield is a typical Bethesda game where it's like wide as an ocean, deep as a puddle, right? And it seems that Baldur's Gate is like, as big as a lake, as deep as an ocean.
Exactly. And like there is something to do with like context and frame of reference, right? So like if you're coming from Starfield and you come into Baldur's Gate, right? You're like, this city isn't too big. I've navigated through bigger cities before. But then, like, the closer you look, the deeper that you can go, and you're like, wow, it just keeps going. That is a much better experience than, like, looking out and being like, there's a whole continent here, and then looking closer and being like, okay, so when I look real close, there's not as much as I thought. Like, it's one is just a more satisfying experience, right? It's easier to move from Starfield to Baldur's Gate than I think it would be moving from Baldur's Gate to Starfield, if for no other reason than the setup, right? Like the setup.
I think that's right. Although
the setup in Baldur's Gate is you see the city, you know how big it is, but it's not. It's bigger than that.
Yeah, it's deeper, And Carlos, would it take you like 40 hours and shit to finish Starfield?
Yeah.
Although it's probably gonna take me longer. You know how I play.
Yes, I think it'll take you longer because I did do a lot of the main mission, a lot of the side missions, not as much as Brian, but yeah, like I did mostly main missions with side missions in between.
You missed that chocobo?
I think I meant. And I did it all without a chocobo, man. Yo, I will say this. I wish I had a chocobo in this because every time you land on a planet, you're like, man, I wish I had like just something like give me a horse or whatever.
I will say this. having low gravity in a backpack, it's not too bad, honestly. Like that's depends like if I had to choose Skyrim with a horse or Starfield where I can just like moon leap, it's definitely going to be the moon leaping.
Yeah, so, yeah. I guess it just depends on the planet. There's some planets that are just regular site, like
dude. That's why every time I get out of my spacecraft and I jump in on like normal gravity or heavy gravity, I'm like, fuck this noise, god damn it.
Where's my transporter?
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Now I want a speed bike, like. But every time I'm moon leaping through something, I'm like, I'm not even sure how like a speed bike would function in low gravity. Like. Other than maybe hilarious,
yeah, it would be pretty funny.
You want the Mass Effect car,
the Mako.
You want the Mako?
Yeah. So I definitely got to play those two games because I do. You know, I want to have some more credibility to my Game of the Year list because right now I only really have like one. I've only played like 4 games this year. You know.
Yo, man, who are you? Me? Well, you trying to compete, yo?
Yeah, maybe. Well, you know, I mean, nah, because your reason is more. Even though I know you're not very interested, you kind of don't have time. I do have time, more or less, but I'm like, there's not a lot that's interesting me, you know. But I've also been doing some other shit too, some personal stuff, which I may talk about soon publicly. We'll see.
Oh.
But yeah. Games. Actually, you know what I also got to do too? Even though I technically can't count it in the Game of the Year running because it's a remake, I got to get back to that Resident Evil 4, you know? Because that shit was dope. You know what I may do? I think I'll play Resident Evil 4 first because I could probably finish that off in a weekend. Then Starfield, and then Baldur's Gate, and then, you know, that'll be my year. Although I'm pretty sure I'll be playing Baldur's Gate a little bit into next year because January ain't shit coming out, you know?
Fuck January.
Yeah, so games, people. Games are coming out. And I'll see, because there may have been some other stuff. I got to check out that Shredder's Revenge DLC.
Yeah, same here. I haven't sat down to do it yet.
Yeah.
And then I think, I don't know if Manny or Chris mentioned it, but Alan Wake 2 is coming out. Like,
I got to play that.
Me.
Chris, did you play Dead Space, the remake?
Yeah, I beat that.
Would you recommend it?
Dead Space, absolutely.
Okay, good stuff. Yeah, see,
I mean, it's as peaceful as possible.
Yeah, See, to me, if Dead Space and Resident Evil 4 get the Chris approval, I am down because I was very wary of both games. I'm like, don't fuck, because I still think Dead Space and Resident Evil 4 are perfect as is. So I'm like, he says he's gonna fuck it up, but apparently he didn't fuck it up, so that's a good thing, you know. Tony's coming to New York Comic Con with his new Meta Ray-Bans. I'm not wearing that shit. The glasses are kind of fun. I tried them out. They're kind of fun, but I'm not going to be doing that. They were cool though. I tried them out. I got to register for Comic Con.
Black.
See Barry Burton. I know you're going to be there, man. Don't give me that shit.
He'll be there.
You know you're going to be there. So I'll register.
If I somehow say, man, I need a ticket, all of a sudden Barry Burton will have one.
Yeah. No, Mighty Nerd, I haven't played the DLC for Shredder's Revenge. Played Shredder's Revenge. As a matter of fact, I played that whole game with Carlos, Chris, and Adam on Steam Deck. You know?
Oh, yeah.
That shit was fun.
Am I Steam Deck?
So I got to play the DLC. I heard the DLC is like the Streets of Rage 4 DLC where it's really fucking brutal, you know?
Yeah. And then they added some new characters.
Yeah. So that's pretty fun, you know? Do they have Usagi Yojimbo?
Yeah, it's Usagi Yojimbo and Karai.
Ooh, cool. That's fun. All right. Anyway, that's it, man. We are done here. Carlos, what's going on with The Walking Dead?
Yeah. Right now, the Daryl Dixon show is going on. That's a Walking Dead. It's the Daryl Dixon show, which is a Walking Dead spinoff that has to do with, no surprise, Daryl Dixon. So we have a show on thecoalition.com. That's the Coalition with a K, called I Am Negan, which is a Walking Dead podcast.
I am what?
Where we talk. We're Negans.
I am Daryl.
I'm Daryl.
Yeah,
I'm Daryl.
It should be I am Daryl right now.
Yeah, it should be I am Daryl, but you know, Negan was the headliner back in the day. So that's our namesake, and yeah, we're talking about the Daryl Dixon show there on. So I am Negan on your podcasting apps, thecoalition.com, the nuke, and the coalition on YouTube with a K. I am Negan. Adam Bale is our host. Mr. Richard Bailey Jr., RBJ. Shout out to him. He's also part of the crew, include myself, and we talk about we're going to talk about Daryl Dixon, which is it's been a pretty good show so far. So we've been appreciated. Killer Nuns, French People, and Baby Chalamet. So make sure to stay tuned and watch that and be informed.
Yo, what was the name of that episode again, Carlos? Remember how to say that shit?
Paris sera toujours Paris.
Oui, oui.
Paris will always be Paris.
Yeah. Shout out to Paris Lily, man. It's our boy.
Shout out to Paris
Lily. Paris will always be Paris.
He will be always Paris.
With 2 R's, though.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going?
Didn't he do something with the yellow chair and shit? Didn't he review it or something?
Oh, no, he pulled it out. He pulled it out to play some Cyberpunk. I was like, yo, yellow's back.
There you go, man. You got to just accept it.
I used the code for the Cyberpunk yellow.
Yeah. I was talking to Paris today. I was like, because, obviously we're both playing Spider-Man. We're like, we're going to get a lot of hate when we tell motherfuckers we got a code. And he was like, yeah, let him come. I'm used to it. He obviously gets it way harder than I do, but surprisingly, I haven't gotten too much hate, which kind of proves my point that without the fucking blue check mark, not a lot of shit, which is nice.
No, you're the thing about it is like, removing that blue check mark pretty much removed a giant
the bullseye,
a giant bullseye. Do you even get as much engagement these days as you did?
No, not as much as I used to. It's gone down a lot, which is fine by me. It's fine by me.
You're one of us again, Tony.
Yeah, listen, I'm about that life, man. I always said that fucking blue check mark was a bullseye, and I wish I hadn't signed up for it, right? And now that it's gone, I'm like, oh, I'm free, because some motherfuckers may talk that shit, and then when they don't get engagement, crying. Yeah. Fuck that. Have you seen the gaming community these days, man, on Twitter? You don't want to engage with those motherfuckers.
To be honest, I don't see the gaming community.
Although there was one guy that came at me though, dumpster diving, looking for a tweet, and he dug up a tweet from 2021, April 2021, where at the time I said I am worried about PlayStation's direction. So he quote tweeted that with me going, "I got Spider-Man" as a gotcha moment. I'm like. 2.5 years later,
gotcha moment.
2.5 years later, I'm not allowed to change my fucking opinion. You piece of shit. It's fucking crazy, man. Because that's how it is on the internet now. You are not allowed to change your opinion after years. No, you have to maintain the same stance no matter what.
Yeah.
It's insane. Philly, don't get me talking about that bullshit, man. What happened in Philly?
There's one no, he's talking to us. Yeah. The Philly Fred joined the chat, so they're talking about
Yo, hold up. With Philly Fred, that's our boy.
That's an OG, man. That's the GOAT.
That is an OG.
Yeah, met him twice at Comic-Con, man. That's my dude right there. No, but Phil, real quick, not gaming related, but did you see that fucking influencer? This bitch was live streaming the fucking riots and shit, going, "Police ain't gonna arrest me. We gonna rob everything." Yeah, bitch, they arrested your fucking ass and charged you with 6 crimes.
The thing about it is like they probably couldn't get all those other people just because she was standing there saying that shit.
Yeah, exactly. They ain't gonna arrest me. We protesting up here,
Are they protesting?
Yeah, they were, Well, you protest from jail. How about that? And she's crying too. Get out of here with that bullshit. Influencers are the fucking worst. Remember that fucking parasite in Union Square a couple months ago?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I got PS5s for everybody. Caused a fucking riot with his dumbass fans and shit. I hope I don't know what happened to him, but he should have gotten arrested too, motherfucker. Anyway, let's get out of here, man. Make sure you follow Throwdown on Twitch and Twitter. Join the Discord where the conversations are always hot, man. Shout out to you guys in the Discord, man. Like, you guys get fiery, but you keep it respectful most of the time. So I like that,
For a second, I thought you were going to go.
No. You got to keep it real up in the field. Keep it real up in the field, all right? That was the sound that the Howard Stern used to play back when he wasn't a fucking dumbass. Have you heard Howard Stern? He says, like, are you the same dude from fucking the 90s? Like, that Howard Stern would be very surprised at the shit you're saying now, you know? But like I said...
He's the kinder, gentler Howard Stern.
Yeah, but like I said, people are allowed to change, right? So...
Yeah, he can change.
Yeah, there you go, man.
He don't need to be fiery anymore because his viewership is always there. So
yeah, that's true.
He could be comforting now
on Sirius XM. He's on Sirius XM.
On Sirius
right?
XM. Yeah, he's still serious.
Yeah, serious. Anyway, Throwdown. We're on every podcast app on the planet, even some I've never heard of.
Except for Google, which Google's being.
No, we're on Google too.
Google's changing. We're not going to be Google. Google's not going to be doing podcasts. Now it's going to be YouTube podcasts.
Oh,
yeah. So it's going to be
no more audio podcasts on YouTube on Google.
Yeah, they're not doing it through Google anymore. It's being changed around. Your boy posted about that pretty recently.
Who's my boy? I got a lot of boys, man.
You got Dominicano. Danny, yeah, he did it.
Dominicano Danny.
Yeah, Dominicano Danny.
Oh, man.
He posted about it not long ago. It's essentially that they're just reconfiguring things. So now it's not going to be Google anymore. It's going to be like a YouTube thing.
Google Podcast. That's interesting. Go look into that. But I don't think we have to worry too much. We should be all right.
No, I don't think we have to worry. Just we're everywhere. You just do Throwdown Show and you'll find us.
You'll find us. But we're places. Throwdownshow.com, obviously, to listen to the MP3 episodes, and also YouTube, as Manny, as you mentioned. If you've been watching us on YouTube and liked our videos, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified when our premieres go live. They go live every 24 hours after this show. So you get them on Friday night and you get them on Monday night, 10:45-ish. But yeah, links to everything down in the description, brothers. All right, so we are done here. So once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
Brett Murdoch.
Deuces.
And Brian Manjoma.
Every day it dawns on me that Canada may be a psyop. Because that's not a real country, I swear to God.
Oh, damn.
Oh, my God. So I don't know if I want to talk. Brian, I know exactly what you're talking about. But I will say this. So it's very interesting how we went from punch every Nazi to standing ovation for a Nazi. Canada, you're a strange place, man. You are a very strange place. Anyway, we will see you on Sunday. Later.
Latest.